Maker Max here. We're going to now show you how to change the buttons on your driven clutch, as it's called. Pretty simple to do. If you haven't watched my first video, how to get your belt off, watch that if you don't know how. Got a 1/2 inch socket. Oh, there we go. Let's take that off over to the bench. Okay, we got the driven clutch here on the bench. First thing we gotta do is take off this C-clip. I'm gonna push down on this a little bit while I do it because there's a big spring underneath it. Now when you go to take this apart, you want to make note of where your spring is located. And if you notice these grooves going around, one's a little different. That's your boss one. And that's got to line up in the right spot. So I'm going to make a mark with a Sharpie. And down inside here there's holes. Mine was in hole number 2 from the factory. So I'm going to make a mark on hole number 2. According to the manual, you want to check this for straightness. So just take something that's straight. What that means is that the top and the bottom should line up. So that looks pretty good. The spring is still good according to the manual. Once you get this apart, you can look inside here, and then you have what are called the buttons, and you can use a torque 25 to take those out. Mine are really in good shape, but one side will be worn more than the other. So right there, there's the worn side. Okay, now they do have a bit of a curve to them. So if I hold it like this, the top goes that way. But according to the manual, you're supposed to be able to spin them around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the screw. I'm going to flip my button over. I'm going to put it back in. 180 different. I'm going to take a hammer and a piece of wood, and I'm going to tap it in place. You also want to take this off and you want to inspect your bushings. These are Teflon coated brass, so if it looks like this, looks like aluminum, that's okay. If it looks like brass, you need to replace these. There's one on the other side. All right, and then in order to replace these, you have to heat them up with a torch. And then you can put a screwdriver like that and just bang all the way around and knock them out and put the other ones in. But they're held in with Loctite, so you got to use a torch to heat them up. But mine are okay. All right, I don't have a lot of play. If I push down on either side, it doesn't move. You want to put just a little bit of grease on the spline all the way around. You do not want to put grease on this shaft. Also don't want to put grease on the bottom here. There are these spacers. These spacers control your belt tension. You could take them out if you want, but you have to have at least one in. But you can change the spacers. That'll change the tension on your belt. Let's put our spring back in. My spring went in hole number 2. On my helix, it went in hole number 2 also. In the manual, it gives you different things you can set it at. All right, then we're going to line up the boss spline, which is the big one. Okay. And then what you want to do is you want to give the outer disc 1/3 of a turn counterclockwise before you push the helix all the way down. There we go. Just put a clamp on it. That seems to be holding it. Well, that was pretty easy. All right, just throw a clamp on it to keep the disc from moving. There should be tension on that. There we go. Before you put the driven clutch on, they want you to put a little bit of grease on the spline. All right. There's 3 washers here. Just gonna leave those alone. While you're in here, you should clean anything out. Check, make sure there's no cracks. Make sure that your gasket going through here is in good shape. Make sure that your outlet, this is where your air gets blown out, is in good shape. Down here is your inlet. Can't see it. All right, this pipe comes down. It's got coolant in here. This white thing is your inlet, so it sucks air in. And when this spins, these fins blow the air out, and then it comes through here, and then it gets blown out through your exhaust hole. Okay, time to put the driven clutch back on and pull that out. And that's just a 1/2 inch. All right, at this point, just put everything back together, and I have a belt video for that. If you click up here, it shows you that belt video. And I got a bunch of other videos too for fixing the Polaris Xplorer. Check those out. Thanks for watching.